What is going on, everyone? We are here for week 4 of the Ferrari GT3 Fixed Challenge Series. This week we are at Virginia International Raceway for the full course layout. Pretty neat style of circuit. Couple of sort of corners with no markings, so it can be a little bit challenging to sort of pick your brake markers and your turning points. So we'll, same as always, go through a hot lap and then fire into a bit of a walkthrough guide and slow it all down for you and point out a few things along the way. And then, yeah, we'll get going from there. So thank you to everybody that's been subscribing, commenting, liking the videos. It's been really cool, and yeah, really appreciate all the support. Lately, it's been a little bit overwhelming at times, to be honest with you, so really appreciate it, guys. So without further ado, let's kick into VIR. Alright guys, so now we're going to break down the laps. So as you're coming down into turn 1, you're close to the pit exit, on the way through the corner, and then you want to start to track yourself back out towards the left-hand side of the circuit. Get as close to the white line as possible. You're looking for the 2 board right here to start your big brake pressure into turn 1. It's called turn 1, but really it's about 3 parts to the corner. So the way you enter is probably the most crucial part to making sure that you actually get a good exit speed. So as you come down all the way back down to second gear, right? So you'll see just here the line starts to take a different sort of trajectory, right? So as the line starts, that very slight kink first before it then goes back on itself. So right here, this is where we start to turn the car at the corner. Second gear, turn the car in. Trail the brake the whole way to the apex, right? And you want to get to this point here and get the car to start to rotate. And then once you get to the end of the curb just here, this is where you start to pick the throttle up. The car's going to start to push a little bit wide. Now, that's not such a bad thing because you want it to push a little bit wide so you can then get back to the curb right here. So it's like a double apex, if that kind of makes sense, but it's not in the traditional sense of a double apex. So you're sort of clipping in, you let the car track a little bit wider to then really get the exit through here. You want to hit the curb just at the end of it, so right here is where we're looking for. And then the corner continues to wrap around the corner, so the car will get a little bit twitchy here, so you might need to slightly lift off the throttle just to keep a little bit of rear stability in it, but you want to try and make sure you got as much throttle percentage on the car as possible, right? So then once you come out of this bit, you're sort of in line with the Michelin Man on the little wall over there. So this is the angle you sort of take in. I sort of stay a little bit more to the right just so that when I approach into the braking zone of this next corner, I can sort of diagonal the car, if that makes sense. So as we come into the corner, I start to turn the car at the corner, and then I line up with the house or the cabin or whatever that building is directly in front of us. And then I diagonal the car at the corner, and I start to brake real aggressive. I get the car back to third gear, and then as I get towards the curb, now I'm not exactly right out at the edge of the road, because I feel like if you go that far, there's more room for problems to come in. So I sort of place myself maybe 3 to 5 feet from the edge of the road. Once I get to this last part of the curb here, I start to turn the car at the corner in third gear. So it's like a diagonal brake and then turn the car in. Turn the car in, I let it rotate, I get right up on the curb in third, car pushes wide, use all the runoff road, and then I head down into the next one. Now this one, if you get a really good exit, it'll just pop the limiter. If you don't, you'll sort of still be on the throttle building up to it. So, and then as you come down into here, this one's the first tricky corner because there's no markers, there's nothing to signify where to sort of position your car. So like if you look, there's a couple of trees there which you could use, but obviously they're quite far away. Same on the inside, there's nothing here. So the way I kind of look at it, right, is I kind of gauge on car length. So I go, right, I'm about 4.5 from the corner. This is where I'm going to brake, right? So it's about that 50 to 60 meter mark, maybe a little bit more. It's probably about 80 actually, to be honest with you. Third gear, right near the end of the rev range. Back to second gear. Turn the car in. Now, I turn the car in once I start to get towards the little toilet on the right-hand side up here. But because it's sort of hidden behind your number plate on your that tells you your position on your windscreen, it's kind of hard to spot that turn in even, really. So I kind of just try and follow the trajectory of the rubber, where you can see the lines a bit darker, but obviously track's not always rubbered in either, so it does tend to change a little bit. Get close to the curb here, and then you want to sort of set yourself up, if you can, a little bit more towards the left-hand side of the track, so that when you go to turn in right, you've got more turning time. Get to the curb. Once you get in line with the little, like, I think it's a flag marshal hut, actually, to be honest with you. It looks like a little gazebo. Let the car start to track out wide. You're going to get right to the edge of the road on the curb. Up to third gear. Now, this one I find it's really unique. I find if I lift off the throttle, the car rotates a lot better. So what I tend to do is set like second to third in this little bit here, and then once I get to the curb, I just sort of lift off the throttle, but it's only for like a breath, just to get the car to start to rotate in, and then I accelerate and drive through the corner. I use all the curb on the right here, and then I sort of diagonal the car over to the left. Use all the curb on the left. Same again here, back across to the right, use all the curb. Up through the gears, you're just plucking gears now. Fifth, up to 6. When you enter, you're flat through this whole section, so close to this curb. Use quite a lot of this curb. And a little bit of this curb. Now, as you come in here, you're still flat. I lift slightly at the end of the curb just to make sure the car sets on the right-hand side. And when I mean lift, it's not even a full lift. It's like a 30-35% off the throttle quickly, just to get the car to turn in and rotate. And then I start to brake just after these tyre wall on the right-hand side here. So I start to brake just slightly after it, probably just past the toilet. So right about here, right? So this is where I brake the car, and I only go down one gear. And I don't, when I say brake the car, it's not really a big braking zone. It's more just to wash a little bit of speed off, because I want to drive through this next corner. Because I find if you turn in and sort of try and roll the car through the corner, the car tends to move around a little bit, and it's quite easy to end off in the grass on the back end of the curb. So I find by sort of checking up the entry a little bit and then accelerating through the corner, the car's a little bit more planted to the track and it works. So same again here, just nice early turn in. There's no marker for your turn in there, so it's just a bit of sort of understanding where the car and how much grip you've got, and then that confidence level to just pitch the car in fifth gear at quite high RPM. Get nice and close to the curb. The car's going to slide all the way over the back of the curb out here. And then you're up in fifth gear still, coming down the hill. You're looking for the two board. It's nice big brake pressure. Down to third. Down to fourth, down to third. And then I start to turn the car in. And as I turn the car in, I go to second. I come off the curb right at the end. I start to let the car track out. I sort of aim for the last motel sign. Now, this is a tricky one as well, because there's no real turning point. But what I try and do is when I get to roughly this point here, so it's about halfway along the curb, and I'm not at the curb. I'm not at the edge of the road. I'm still probably 3 to 4 feet away from the edge of the road again. I turn the car back at the corner. I get nice and close to the apex, clip the curb. Let the car track out nice and wide, use all the escape road, and start to pound up through the gears again. Third, fourth, fifth, up through all the gears. Now as you come over the crest, I set myself up on the right hand side of the track. I'm looking for the 2.5 watts. It's roughly 2.5. So I look for the 3. Once I get to the 3, I set myself up just to brake just past it, just before the 2 board. So roughly right about here. So the 2 board's nicely in sight, but it's about a car length before you actually get to the 2 board. So once you get to there, start to brake 6th gear. You want to go all the way back to second. So, but don't be in a hurry to bang down all the gears. Take your time with it a little bit, because you're going uphill, then it drops downhill, and then it rotates. It is quite a tricky corner to make sure you settle the braking. So take your time with the braking. Downshift nice and early, but take your time downshifting. Don't just go dun 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 down all the gears, because it upsets the balance of the car. As you enter in, you want to be on the left-hand side of the track, as close to the curb as possible. Once you get to the white line, you start to diagonal the car across, and I sort of set myself up between the 2 trees in the middle, and then once I get to nearly the end of the tie wall, so just before the end of the tie wall, I start to rotate the car in. So by doing this one, I'm sort of following the way the road's slowly starting to slope into the corner, and it sort of just stops anybody from having a look, because you're sort of making a nice diagonal for the apex. So, and then get on the curb, help the car to rotate. Up to third, on that curb, let it run right out to the edge of the road. Up to fourth. Then as you turn in, clip the curb, and then set yourself up with the 3rd tree in line, like in that group of 5 trees that are really clear and visible. So 3rd tree in line, follow it down the hill. Don't turn in too early here. If you grab the curb too early, the car's going to be real upset. So turn the car in just as you pass the coloured curb. Let the car track out to the edge of the road. Don't hit the curb, but get nice and close to it. Carry the speed. And then once you sort of just let the car continue to slowly rotate through the corner. Don't put too much wheel into it, because I feel like if you do, the car wants to over-rotate. So just by sort of a nice gradual steering approach, by giving yourself the width of the track, will just help the car to not be as twitchy and taily through here. And then touch the curb in the middle of the apex, and then let the car run right out to the edge of the road. And then up the start-finish line. And there you go, guys. That is your walkthrough track guide lap around VIR International in the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. I hope this has helped you guys. Good luck for your week of racing, and we will see you for week 5 next week. Thanks, guys.